Welcome to the Divine Within, the invisible connection with God. We want to look at the big spiritual idea behind this conversation, that in this life, someone can be outwardly beautiful while inwardly undeveloped. Yet, in the next stages of existence, the outer form begins to match the character of the inner person. What is beauty really? Why is it important to consider the fragrance of the evolving soul? How can we bring more beauty to the soul's fragrance? I'm your host, AprilHelen, and joining me today is a fully fragrant soul sister, Kerri Jones. Kerri is a development executive at her local PBS station, an author, an illustrator of her own children's book series, Little Vianne Discovery, and a tea curator who helps her family's online tea store, Vianne's Teas. Hi, Miss Kerri. Welcome.
Hello, AprilHelen. Thank you for having me today. I'm
Yeah,
very
my
excited.
pleasure.
This is going to be a lot of fun.
It is. So we are considering the fragrance of the soul. Soul fragrance. What is this? In this first segment, we are taking from many philosophies on this planet one central concept that you match in the next world, on the next level, wherever we go from here. You match who you are in your true character on the inside now on this world. And there's this one specific Urantia Book quote that Miss Kerri and I have been curious over the last few weeks and maybe even
Yes,
our lifetimes. And it
agreed.
says, yeah, in the physical life, mortals may be outwardly beautiful, though inwardly unlovely. In the Morantia life, and this is what the Urantia Book alludes to as the life that we're living after this life, it is increasingly on its higher levels the personality form that will vary directly in accordance with the inner nature of the person. So you're literally going to look like on the outside who your character is right now on the inside. So as we lead with that, I'll pass it over to you, Miss Kerri. Hear your opening thoughts about this concept. Take it away.
Thank you, AprilHelen. It is a really interesting thought. There's so much throughout history, so many philosophers that has touched on this soul fragrance theme that has made you really think about what you're going to look like in the next life. And a lot of it points to you're going to look like you actually are. We can mask it here. A man can be extremely physically attractive, handsome, and he can be a serial killer, an axe murderer, but he's going to look very appealing. A woman can also be very attractive, very fit. But on the inside, maybe she does wrong, makes lots of wrong choices and treats people badly. But I think what people need to realize is this thought, and they need to explore it, that whatever you are on the inside is what you're going to look like in the next afterlife. So we really need to spend a lot more time, I think, working on our souls, spritzing our souls, as we have liked to say. Um, and what does that mean? Well, let's explore that. But I do feel like there's so much throughout history and currently, contemporarily, many people are looking to maximize their physical look. And there's no judgment here. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. We all feel that. We all want to be the best that we can be, right? Whether it's physically on the outside or on the inside. But I think that as much time and effort as we spend on our physical appearance, that time and effort should also be spent on beautifying and freshening your soul, because that's really what you're going to look like in the afterlife if you do your own research and go through some of these philosophers and some of these readings. um, I think there's a lot of truth there.
Oh, yes. I'm so glad that we got into this conversation, and you're the
Me
one
too.
that did that research about what concepts match this idea of matching our character in the next world. And I thought of another one that a lot of people on the planet, reincarnation. And, although we don't know as a human species what really is going to be beyond this planet, and it could be moving to a next level, or some consider moving right back here onto this one. Yet it's a consistent idea that you'll become who you truly are inwardly. And you
Right.
said, which brought to my mind the most recent language or phrase around this idea on the outward expression of beauty is looks maxing. And so then it took me back to my young Christian upbringing of being presentable, aesthetically pleasing in the world so that people are attracted to you and want
Mhm.
to see and learn. So then I looked a little bit deeper and have been really curious about this because although I consider myself about an average beauty on the outside. Yet, when I was a little girl, I maximized this internal beauty. And one of my favorite things is bringing good cheer. So, bringing the fragrance of the beautiful scent of optimism and positivity and real reality into this internal alignment. And we'll get into this in the third segment of this podcast, being in alignment with the values that you say you have. Yet, because you did some of the research, how about you riff a little bit about any quotes or paraphrasing that you found that validates what we're talking about here today?
Yes, thank you. Let me put my reading glasses on. All right. Um, there is a famous writer, C.S. Lewis, and he is actually credited with saying this. And a little bit further research shows that a gentleman by the name of George MacDonald actually penned this statement. um, You don't have a soul, you are a soul. You have a body. So that is short and sweet, and that really gives us pause to think. Then we have something from St. Augustine of Hippo. Since love grows within you, so beauty grows. For love is the beauty of the soul. St. Augustine of Hippo. Then we have something from St. John of Kronstadt. After death, our bodies emit an offensive odor, whilst they remain fragrant and flourishing in life and after death. We,
Mm,
by building up our body, destroy it, whilst they, by destroying theirs, build it up, caring only for the fragrance of their souls before God. St. John of Kronstadt.
mm.
So,
Those are powerful. And so we can see in humanity that this concept has been a higher calling that we can all ascend to and look up to as we're inundated in this world of looks maxing. And you and I, over the last few weeks, have had some really great conversations leading up to this podcast
we have. We
and got
have.
me really interested in where did this all start. And I considered the animal kingdom before even humans were on the planet that pe- uh, animals, I'm considering birds and like the cardinal, the blue jay, that the male really is so beautiful on the outside to attract the female. So there is this initial animalistic tendency to create this beauty on the outside to be accepted by society, by the community, by the other birds, by the female that you're trying to instigate a mating dance with. So where is it now in our human society? What sparked your desire to want to do a podcast around this awesome subject?
I don't think I wanted to do the podcast. I wanted you all to do it. But
Well,
no, I'm
I'm glad
happy.
that you took up the torch.
Well, I'm happy to be a part of it now since we've had so much time to talk. And um, well, I think that when you see so many extreme levels of trying to improve physical looks, and it gets so extreme, and just little things. It just makes you wonder how good is that really for your body, let alone your soul. I don't think the soul really matters so much because the soul, you work on your soul and you spritz your soul and you do soul searching, whether you have eyelashes out to here or not. But it makes you wonder, well, if the eyelashes are so long and heavy, what's going to happen to the eyelid as that person ages? It's just the silly things like that that make you think and make you wonder. Just vitamins and injections and surgeries and such. Um, they're so extreme. I think that that's been happening in our society, and you often wonder how is that really affecting the body? What is that really doing to the body? So I think that that's where we need to bring in some balance, and we need to be careful of how we treat our bodies in the long run. But again, I don't think it concerns the soul so much as long as you're spending that amount of time and effort on soul work, because that's really what you're going to look like. If you're that concerned about your physical appearance, what you're going to look like in the afterlife, it seems, is what is happening with your soul. So if you are a very, very handsome man and you are doing wrong, immoral acts and against the law, you're going to look like that monster, perhaps, in the afterlife, not that handsome man that you're used to looking like. But I think that we have an audience, perhaps, of mostly women for this podcast, Soul Fragrance. And the same goes for women. I think that we just need to be conscious of what we're doing to take care of ourselves, and we need to spend as much time as we can taking care of our spiritual life, our relationship with God, reading, talking to others that have questions and concerns and that wonder about the afterlife and that wonder. That's where you could spritz your soul. That's where you can increase your spiritual knowledge, your spiritual feeling, your morality. So I think that it's just really gets you thinking when you see so much effort has been put into maximizing your looks by doing so many, actually, I guess, unnatural um, physical appearances and improvements. So I think that that's kind of where this came about. It's almost so shocking, some of the things that are being marketed these days. And you wonder what young women who are more vulnerable and more gullible, if you will, don't have proper instruction as to what's really good for your body. You really wonder what effects some of these things are having. And so it is a little bit concerning. And I think that in all areas of our communities, we can start to do things that are good for the soul. And to hopefully bring a lot of notice to those things and attract young women, women of every age, to take care of their souls.
Hmm.
And what those things can be, well, we can talk about it.
Yeah, I love that. Later, just a little bit more on this. You made me think about, as you mentioned, maybe even the pressures that social media, uh, m- magazines, and
Absolutely.
how do we hold the tension between, or the balance between, this trying to feel beautiful in a culture, um, rather than that pressure of needing to look beautiful? How do we personally hold the compassion for women who are trying to feel beautiful in a culture that constantly tells them that they may not be enough because of their
Right.
outward appearance?
Right, right. And I think we talked about how magazines and even social media and influencers, everyone's, has a video camera now. That is actually bringing a little bit of balance into the images of women. For a while, the media and magazines were only showing all the beautiful physiques of women. And a lot of us grew up with watching all those perfect physical bodies, applying makeup and clothing and fashion. And it was a lot of fun to watch, but it's very hard to keep up with something like that and to be like that, to aspire to be like that. But now with social media, people of all shapes and sizes and looks, it's very diverse of all these images that you're getting with regards to beauty. So, just like anything, it's all about balance. You have one extreme and then you have another extreme, and then at some point it kind of comes up back into the middle with some sort of balance for us to look at and to think about. But I think that I don't know where the balance is with regards to all of medical and artificial type enhancements are. I don't know if we've gotten any balance there yet. But there's always new techniques and new things cropping up that require some sort of balance and some sort of thinking. And let's get to the real truth of the matter, kind of thing.
It is nice that it seems that we're moving into an era that is more natural in those techniques, more holistic in the improvement of the external self. And instead of chemicals that may even have more of a negative effect on the body in the long run. And you and I, as we were in conversation over the last month, and you hit it a few minutes ago, we're not here to judge that. We
Right.
ourselves, you like beautiful lipstick. I like accessories of jewelry and doing my hair and wearing sparkly clothes. And that
Absolutely.
it's like
We want
finding
to be
whatever
human
it
if
is
we
for
can.
you, but our encouragement, which we'll get into in a moment, and maybe even a warning of it's really the inner work that we're encouraging, balanced at the same rate. You spend how much time on your outer expression,
Mhm.
and we're cheerleading you to consider that inner beauty and that soul fragrance beaming from the inside. Oh, I love that.
Spritzing the
Citrus.
soul.
Yes, I put on my
Spritzing the
essential
soul
oils
as
this
well.
morning. So as we do transition, we're moving now into the language of how important it is that we really look at what we can do. And in the third segment, we'll even dive even deeper into the practical suggestions.
On the Divine Within podcast, we share real conversations to help you find a personal connection with God. My goal is to support your faith, growth, and journey toward discovering the divine within yourself. Join us to deepen your faith and spiritual journey.